The synthetic alarms blared across the compound, their high-pitched wails echoing through the barracks. Lieutenant Ray Carson bolted upright in his bunk, his heart racing as he reached for his uniform. Around him, his fellow human cadets were doing the same, each movement precise and practiced. "This is not a drill," announced the automated voice system. "Battle stations. All cadets report to defensive positions." Ray exchanged glances with his bunkmate, Cadet Willis. "Another surprise evaluation," he muttered, hastily pulling on his boots. "Command really doesn't want us to sleep this rotation." The Interstellar Military Academy on Proxima Centauri 4 had been their home for the past 18 months. As the first batch of human recruits to train alongside alien species in the Galactic Coalition's elite forces, they had something to prove. The aliens, with their advanced technologies and centuries of interstellar warfare experience, had initially viewed humans as primitive, soft, and undisciplined. Every day at the academy was a chance to change that perception. "Carson!" barked Sergeant Dahlia Rax as she strode through the barracks. Her tall, lean frame and the characteristic blue crest on her forehead marked her as cerulean, one of the founding species of the Coalition. "Get your squad assembled on the north perimeter, now!" "Yes, Sergeant," Ray responded, grabbing his tactical vest and motion rifle. He tapped his comm unit. "Bravo squad, north perimeter, double time." As Ray rushed out of the barracks, the sky above the training compound erupted with brilliant flashes of light. Something was different about this drill. The orbital bombardment simulations were usually conducted with harmless light displays, but these explosions seemed more substantial, more real. The ground shook beneath Ray's feet as he sprinted across the yard. Chunks of debris rained down around him, and he had to dodge a falling section of the communications tower. This was elaborate, even for the Academy's infamous pressure drills. When Ray reached the north perimeter, he found most of his squad already in position, their expressions a mixture of determination and confusion. "Sir, what exactly are we dealing with?" asked Cadet Talor, her 4 eyes scanning the horizon. As a Quatari, she possessed enhanced vision that could detect movement at extraordinary distances. "Standard battle readiness test," Ray replied, though uncertainty crept into his voice. Just with higher production values than usual, another explosion rocked the compound, this one close enough to spray them with dirt and small rocks. Ray instinctively raised his arm to shield his face. "Lieutenant," Talor said, her voice lowered, "I'm detecting actual damage to the eastern compound. That doesn't align with simulation protocols." Ray frowned. "Command must be taking the training to another level. Remember last month's underwater survival course? They didn't tell us the breathing apparatus would fail after 30 minutes. It's the same concept. They want to see how we react under genuine pressure." The sky darkened as a massive ship moved into position overhead. It wasn't one of the Academy's vessels. Its design was angular and predatory, with glowing red markings that Ray didn't recognize from any Coalition species. "That's a Krell warship," whispered Cadet Drayson, the squad's weapons specialist. "But they're not part of our training rotation." Ray's comm unit crackled to life. "All units, this is command. Maintain defensive positions. Do not, repeat, do not engage unless directly attacked. This is an advanced pressure drill. Your responses are being evaluated." The message was oddly specific, almost as if command was emphasizing the point too strongly. But Ray had no time to dwell on it as the first wave of drop pods punched through the atmosphere, landing with thunderous impacts throughout the training base. The pods cracked open, revealing armored figures that moved with mechanical precision. They raised weapons that looked all too real and began advancing on the cadets' positions. "Remember your training," Ray called to his squad. "These are training bots. Use stun settings only." The bots opened fire, and Ray's certainty wavered for a split second. The energy bolts that streaked toward them weren't the harmless training pulses he was accustomed to. These left scorched craters in the ground and melted through the defensive barriers. "Lieutenant, these aren't," Talor began. "They're advanced training units," Ray interrupted firmly. "Command is testing our ability to maintain protocol under extreme duress. Remember the Centaurian doctrine. Perception becomes reality in battle. Ray took a deep breath and raised his rifle. Bravo, squad. Defensive formation Delta. Hold the line and show command what humans are made of. His squad responded with practiced efficiency, spreading out and taking cover behind the perimeter barriers. Ray fired a series of stun pulses at the advancing bots, noting with satisfaction that they reacted as expected, stumbling backward when hit. The training was realistic. He had to give the Academy credit for that. Across the compound, other squads were engaging with the training bots as well. Ray caught glimpses of Sergeant Rax coordinating the defense, her blue crest glowing with intensity as she barked orders into her comm unit. "Sir," called Cadet Willis over the tactical channel, "East Wall is compromised. Real structural damage. At least it looks real." "That's the point," Ray responded. "They want us to believe it's real, so we respond accordingly." For the next hour, Ray's squad held their position against wave after wave of attackers. The simulation was the most intense they'd ever experienced. Exhausting, frightening, and strangely, exhilarating. Ray found himself relying on instincts he didn't know he possessed, making split-second decisions that somehow worked out. When the attackers finally retreated to their drop pods, Ray allowed himself a moment to catch his breath. His uniform was singed in places, and he had a superficial burn on his forearm that the medical nanites in his system were already repairing. Several of his squad members bore similar marks. "Quite the performance enhancement on the training bots," he remarked, trying to sound casual despite his racing heart. "Almost had me convinced we were under actual attack." Talor approached him. Her lower set of eyes narrowed in what Ray had learned was an expression of concern among her species. "Lieutenant," she said quietly, "I need to speak with you privately." Ray nodded and followed her to a relatively secluded section of the perimeter wall. Talor was one of his most reliable squad members, logical, observant, and not given to flights of fancy. "I don't believe this is a drill," she stated bluntly once they were alone. Ray sighed. "I know it feels real, Talor, but that's the point. Remember the psychological warfare module? They taught us that the most effective training blurs the line between simulation and reality." Talor shook her head. "Lieutenant, I've analyzed the energy signatures of those weapons. They're not using training frequencies, and that ship," she pointed upward, "has active weaponry that violates 16 different coalition treaties if used in a training environment." Ray felt a chill run down his spine, but he pushed the feeling away. "Command wouldn't put us in actual danger without warning us. It's against every protocol in the book. Unless," Talor suggested, "Command itself is being tested, or perhaps this is the final exam, to see if we can recognize the difference between a drill and reality." Before Ray could respond, his comm unit activated again. "All squad leaders report to Command Center for briefing," came Sergeant Rax's voice. "Immediately." "Keep the squad on alert," Ray instructed Talor. "I'll get clarification from Command." As Ray made his way toward the central compound, he took stock of the damage. It did look remarkably real. Buildings with gaping holes, equipment scattered and broken, even a few cadets being treated for what appeared to be actual injuries. The Academy had outdone itself this time. The command center was bustling with activity when Ray arrived. Officers from various species huddled around holographic displays, their faces grim. Sergeant Rax stood at the central table, her blue crest pulsing with what Ray recognized as stress indicators. "Squad leaders," she began once they had all assembled. "We have a situation. The base has been targeted by a Krell scouting party. Their attacks appear to be probing our defenses, testing for weaknesses." Ray waited for her to add that this was all part of the drill, but she continued without any such clarification. "We've received a communication from Coalition headquarters. Reinforcements are 12 hours out. Until then, we are on our own." A Thrakian squad leader raised his scaled hand. "Sergeant, is this information part of the simulation parameters?" Sergeant Rax's expression didn't change. "All cadets are to treat this situation as an advanced pressure drill. Your responses will be evaluated according to standard protocols." Ray felt his confusion deepen. Was this deliberately ambiguous? a test of their ability to function under uncertainty? Regardless of the nature of this exercise, Rax continued, your objectives remain clear. Defend the base, protect your squad members, and neutralize any hostile forces. You have your assignments. Dismissed. As the squad leaders filed out, Ray caught up with Sergeant Rax. Sergeant, my squad is requesting clarification. How far does this pressure drill go? Rax fixed him with an unreadable stare. Lieutenant Carson, the Coalition values human adaptability. This is your chance to demonstrate it. Treat the situation as real, respond accordingly, and you will be evaluated favorably. It wasn't a direct answer, but Ray nodded anyway. Understood, Sergeant. When he returned to his squad, they looked at him expectantly. Orders, sir? Asked Willis. Ray considered his options. If this was a drill designed to test their reaction to ambiguity, the correct response would be to treat it as real while maintaining training protocols. If it was genuinely real, well, the response would be the same. We're treating this as a live combat situation, he decided. But we maintain discipline. Stun settings only unless I give a direct order otherwise. Our primary objective is defense, not elimination. For the next several hours, Ray's squad fortified their position. The attacks came sporadically, quick. Violent bursts followed by periods of tense quiet. Ray noticed that each wave seemed to test a different aspect of their defenses, as if the attackers were learning, adapting to their tactics. During a lull, Cadet Drayson approached him. Sir, I've been monitoring communications. There's another ship approaching. Ray felt his stomach tighten. Coalition reinforcements. Drayson shook his head. Different signature entirely. Not Krell, not Coalition. Before Ray could process this information, the sky above them erupted with new explosions. The Krell ship was engaged in combat with the newcomer, exchanging weapons fire directly over the training base. Everyone down, Ray shouted as debris began to rain from the aerial battle. Talor scrambled to his side, her 4 eyes wide. Lieutenant, this confirms my theory. No training exercise would involve an unplanned space battle with live ammunition over a cadet base. Ray watched as the new vessel, sleek and silver with distinctive green energy weapons, landed a devastating blow to the Krell ship, sending it listing to one side. Maybe it's part of the scenario, he suggested, though his conviction was weakening. An unexpected element to test our adaptability. Sir, Talor persisted. I think we need to consider the possibility that we are caught in an actual conflict. These could be rival factions using our base as a battleground. Ray's comm unit crackled again. All units, be advised, a secondary training element has been introduced. Respond according to Coalition protocols for multi-faction engagement scenarios. The message only deepened Ray's uncertainty. It sounded like command was sticking to the drill narrative, but something felt off about the whole situation. Lieutenant Carson, came Sergeant Rax's voice, directed specifically to him this time. Report to the East Quadrant. Your squad is being reassigned. Acknowledged, Ray responded. He turned to his team. Bravo squad, move out, East Quadrant. As they made their way across the compound, Ray observed the state of the base with growing concern. The damage was extensive, far beyond what would be reasonable for a training exercise. Cadets from various species were working together to treat the wounded and secure compromised structures. When they reached the East Quadrant, Ray was surprised to find it largely deserted. The defensive barriers had been breached, and signs of combat were everywhere. Sergeant Rax, Ray called into his comm unit. There was no response. I don't like this, muttered Willis, his rifle raised as he scanned the area. Spread out, defensive positions. Ray ordered. Talor, see if you can get a visual on any hostiles. Talor moved to a vantage point, her 4 eyes working in pairs to scan different sections of the perimeter. Movement, she reported after a moment. Approaching from the northeast. Not Krell. Different configuration entirely. Ray joined her and followed her gaze. A group of figures was advancing toward their position. Tall, slender beings with silvery skin that seemed to reflect the light. They moved with fluid grace, almost like dancers. Vexar. Talor identified them, known for their technological prowess and territorial disputes with the Krell. Are they part of the coalition? Ray asked. Neutral, Talor replied. They have trade agreements but no military alliance. The Vexar continued their approach, apparently unconcerned about being spotted. They carried no visible weapons, which made Ray even more uneasy. His comm unit activated again, but this time there was only static, followed by a garbled message in a language he didn't recognize. Talor, can you translate? She concentrated, her upper eyes still tracking the Vexar while her lower ones blinked rapidly. It's a Vexar diplomatic frequency. They're requesting dialogue with the base commander. Ray made a quick decision. Maintain positions. I'll attempt communication. He stepped forward, making himself visible to the approaching Vexar while ensuring he could retreat to cover if necessary. The alien beings halted their advance when they spotted him. One of them raised a slender arm in what Ray hoped was a peaceful gesture. A melodic voice emanated from somewhere on its person, translated into Coalition Standard. Human Cadet, we seek your commander. This facility has been compromised by Krell scouts. We offer assistance. Ray considered his response carefully. If this was part of the drill, the correct procedure would be to defer to command. But if it was real, our communication systems are damaged, he replied, which was at least partially true. I'm Lieutenant Carson, acting commander of this sector. State your purpose here. The Vexar seemed to confer among themselves, their silvery skin rippling with patterns that Ray assumed was their form of communication. The Krell seek something hidden beneath this facility. The translator finally responded. A relic of significance. They will return with greater numbers. We propose a temporary alliance. Ray felt as though he were balancing on the edge of a knife. Every instinct told him this was beyond any training scenario. Yet command continued to frame it as a drill. I need to consult with my superiors, he said, playing for time. The Vexar's skin patterns shifted again. Time is limited, human. The Krell battlecruiser has only retreated to summon reinforcements. Ray's comm unit suddenly came to life with Sergeant Rax's voice. Lieutenant Carson, your squad is to escort the Vexar delegation to the command center. This is part of the negotiation simulation. The explicit mention of a simulation reassured Ray somewhat. He turned back to the Vexar. My squad will escort you to our command center for discussions. The aliens followed without protest as Ray led them across the compound. He noticed that other cadets gave the Vexar a wide berth, some looking confused, others fearful. In the command center, Sergeant Rax awaited them, along with several other high-ranking officers. They greeted the Vexar with formal coalition protocols, which the aliens reciprocated. Lieutenant Carson, you and your squad are dismissed, Rax instructed. Return to your assigned sector and prepare for Phase 3 of the exercise. Ray hesitated. Sergeant, my squad would benefit from observing the negotiation procedures. Rax's blue crest darkened, a sign of displeasure. That is not part of your evaluation parameters. Lieutenant, you have your orders. As Ray led his squad back to the East Quadrant, Talor fell into step beside him. Lieutenant, did you notice the communication patterns between the officers and the Vexar? What about them? They were genuine, she said. Not the simplified protocols used in training scenarios. And the Vexar, their skin patterns indicated stress and urgency. Those can't be faked. Ray's doubts resurged. What are you suggesting? That the entire command structure is maintaining the pretense of a drill during an actual alien incursion? It would be consistent with coalition training philosophy. Talor pointed out, perhaps they're using the real situation as a teaching opportunity while handling the actual diplomacy themselves. Before Ray could respond, the ground beneath them trembled violently. A massive explosion had erupted from the direction of the command center. All units, battle stations, came a panicked voice over the general comm channel. This is not... The transmission cut off abruptly. Ray broke into a run, his squad following close behind. When they reached the command center, they found it in ruins. Smoke billowed from a gaping hole in the roof, and debris was scattered everywhere. Cadets and officers were pulling the wounded from the wreckage. Ray spotted Sergeant Rax directing the effort, her uniform torn and her blue crest pale with shock. "Sergeant, what happened?" Ray called as he rushed to help. "Krell sabotage device," she replied grimly. "Hidden on one of the Vexar, a genetically targeted explosive." Ray helped lift a section of collapsed wall, allowing medics to reach a trapped officer. "Casualties: 3 officers, 2 Vexar delegates." Rax's voice was clipped, professional, but Ray could detect the underlying strain. "Lieutenant, I need your squad to secure the perimeter. We're expecting the main Krell force within the hour." "Is this still part of the drill, Sergeant?" Ray asked directly. Rax met his gaze, and for a moment, her composed facade cracked. "The Coalition values realistic training scenarios, Lieutenant. Treat the situation accordingly." It wasn't an answer, but it told Ray everything he needed to know. Either this was the most elaborate and dangerous training exercise ever conceived, or they were actually under attack, and Command was using the guise of a drill to maintain order and prevent panic. Either way, his duty was clear. "Bravo, squad," he called, gathering his team. "Perimeter security, full tactical spread, Talor. Coordinate with other squads for a unified defense line." As his squad moved into position, Ray found himself reevaluating everything he thought he knew about Coalition training methods. If this was a drill, it had crossed the line from educational to reckless. If it wasn't, he pushed the thought aside. Right now, his focus needed to be on his squad and their mission. The Krell returned as predicted, their drop pods punching through the atmosphere with even greater force than before. This time, there were dozens of them, creating a perimeter that surrounded the entire base. "All units, defensive positions," came the order from Command. "This is the final phase of the exercise. Your performance will determine your readiness for active duty." Ray positioned his squad at a critical junction between 2 sections of the base. If the Krell broke through here, they would have direct access to the Academy's power core. "Remember your training," he told his team. "Work together, communicate clearly, and adapt to changing circumstances." The Krell attacked with coordinated precision. Wave after wave of armored soldiers advanced on their position, using tactics that grew increasingly sophisticated. Ray's squad held firm, working seamlessly together to repel each assault. Hours passed in a blur of action and brief respites. Ray lost count of the number of Krell he had personally neutralized. His muscles ached, his lungs burned, and a part of his mind continued to question the nature of the exercise. During a momentary lull, Cadet Willis appeared at his side. "Sir, Talor sent me. She's identified a pattern in the Krell attacks. They're focusing their real efforts on the southern quadrant while using these frontal assaults as a distraction." Ray considered this information. "They're trying to reach something specific." "The relic the Vexar mentioned," Willis suggested. "Whatever it is, it must be important for them to commit this level of resources." Ray made a quick decision. "Alert Command about the southern focus. Tell them we're repositioning to reinforce that sector." "Sir, Command specifically ordered all squads to maintain their assigned positions. And I'm making a tactical adjustment based on emerging intelligence." Ray countered, "That's what they've trained us to do." Willis nodded and relayed the message while Ray gathered the rest of the squad. They moved quickly through the compound, navigating around battle zones and damaged structures. When they reached the southern quadrant, Ray immediately understood why the Krell were focusing their efforts here. A section of the ground had been excavated, revealing what appeared to be an ancient structure beneath the Academy buildings. The squad currently defending the area was clearly overwhelmed. Ray recognized their leader as Cadet Jarvis from Alpha Squad, now valiantly trying to hold position with only half her team still standing. "Alpha Squad, reinforcements have arrived," Ray called as his team joined the defense. "Status report?" Jarvis looked relieved to see them. "The Krell broke through our outer perimeter 10 minutes ago. They're after something in that excavation. We've been ordered to defend it at all costs." Ray surveyed the situation. The Krell were employing different tactics here, more cautious, more precise. They were trying to secure the excavation site intact, not destroy it. New plan, he announced to both squads. We're going to push them back with a coordinated assault, then establish a defensive ring around the excavation. Talor, Willis, take 4 cadets and circle around to flank their right side. Jarvis, you and I will lead a frontal push with the rest. It was a risky strategy, but the conventional approach wasn't working. Ray noticed Jarvis hesitate, clearly weighing his suggestion against her original orders. The drill parameters allow for tactical innovation, he reminded her. This is our chance to show command what humans bring to the coalition. Jarvis nodded. Alpha Squad, prepare to advance on Lieutenant Carson's mark. The coordinated assault caught the Krell by surprise. They had grown accustomed to the cadets' defensive posture and weren't prepared for an aggressive counterattack. Ray led the frontal charge while Talor and Willis executed a perfect flanking maneuver, catching the Krell in a devastating crossfire. Within minutes, they had pushed the enemy back and established a new perimeter around the excavation site. Ray took the opportunity to examine what the Krell were so interested in. The exposed structure appeared ancient, with symbols etched into stone-like material that seemed to glow with a faint inner light. At the center of the excavation was a spherical object about the size of a human head, floating several inches above a pedestal. Some kind of artifact, Jarvis observed. Command didn't tell us what it was, just that we needed to protect it. Ray studied the sphere. It pulsed with energy in a rhythm that seemed almost like a heartbeat. Whatever it is, both the Krell and the Vexar want it badly. His comm unit activated. Lieutenant Carson, came Sergeant Rax's voice, sounding strained. Report your position and status immediately. Southern Quadrant, Sergeant, Ray replied. We've secured the excavation site and repelled the Krell assault in this sector. There was a pause before Rax responded. You were ordered to maintain your assigned position, Lieutenant. With respect, Sergeant, tactical assessment indicated the Southern Quadrant was the Krell's primary objective. We repositioned to prevent them from achieving it. Another pause. Hold your position. Command is sending reinforcements. The reinforcements arrived 20 minutes later, not cadets, but full coalition military units equipped with advanced weaponry and battle armor. They moved with the confidence of veteran soldiers, quickly establishing a secure perimeter around the entire Southern Quadrant. An officer approached Ray, her insignia marking her as a coalition commander. Lieutenant Carson, I'm Commander Voss. Your squad is relieved. Report to debriefing immediately. Ray saluted. Yes, Commander. May I ask about the status of the base? Commander Voss regarded him with an unreadable expression. The training exercise is concluded, Lieutenant. All cadets are to report for evaluation and debriefing. As Ray led his exhausted squad toward the designated debriefing area, he couldn't help but notice that the coalition forces were treating the situation with the urgency of a real military operation, not a training exercise. In the debriefing room, Ray found Sergeant Rax and several other officers waiting. Their expressions were solemn. Sit down, Lieutenant, Rax instructed. Your squad as well. Once they were seated, Rax activated a holographic display showing the entire base and the progression of the exercise over the past 24 hours. What I'm about to tell you is classified at the highest level, she began. The events you experienced were not a planned training exercise. A murmur ran through the squad. Ray felt a mix of vindication and concern. 18 hours ago, our base was targeted by a Krell scouting party seeking an ancient artifact recently discovered beneath the academy. When the attack began, Command made the decision to maintain the pretense of a training exercise to prevent panic and to assess how cadets would respond to a genuine threat situation. Ray exchanged glances with Talor, who gave him the Qatari equivalent of an "I told you so" expression. The subsequent Vexar involvement and the final Krell assault were all real. Rax continued, Coalition forces have now secured the base and the artifact. She looked directly at Ray. Lieutenant Carson, your decision to reposition your squad against direct orders would normally result in severe disciplinary action. Ray straightened in his seat, prepared to defend his choice. However, Rax continued, your tactical assessment was correct. Intelligence confirms that the Krell were attempting to extract the artifact through the southern quadrant. Your intervention likely prevented them from succeeding before reinforcements arrived. Ray felt a weight lift from his shoulders. Thank you, Sergeant. Rax's expression remained stern. Don't thank me yet, Lieutenant. Your actions, while ultimately beneficial, raise serious questions about command structure and protocol adherence. She turned to address the entire squad. All of you performed admirably under genuine combat conditions. You maintained discipline, adapted to changing circumstances, and achieved your objectives. By any standard, you passed this unexpected test. One by one, she dismissed the squad members until only Ray remained. When they were alone, Rax's demeanor softened slightly. The Coalition Military Committee will be reviewing the events of the past day very carefully. Carson, your squad's performance, particularly your unconventional decision-making, has sparked considerable debate. About my fitness for command? Ray asked. About human approaches to warfare, Rax corrected. Your species has a unique perspective. You treated a life-or-death situation as a training exercise, which paradoxically allowed you to function effectively without the burden of fear or doubt that might have affected your judgment. She studied him thoughtfully. Most species, when told they're in a simulation, perform below their capabilities. Humans, it seems, rise to the occasion regardless of whether they believe the threat is real. Ray considered this. We were trained to treat every exercise as if it were real. Yes, but you also treated a real situation as if it were an exercise. Rax pointed out, the psychological implications are fascinating. She stood, indicating the debriefing was concluding. Rest, recover, and prepare for a full formal review. Whatever the outcome, Lieutenant, I believe you've demonstrated why humans were admitted to the Coalition Academy despite our initial reservations. As Ray left the debriefing room, he found Talor waiting for him in the corridor. So, she said, falling into step beside him, it was real all along. Ray nodded. And we thought it was just another drill. Perhaps that's why we succeeded. Talor suggested, fear can be paralyzing, but the challenge of a test can be motivating. Maybe that's the real lesson, Ray said as they walked through the damaged compound, now bustling with Coalition repair crews. Sometimes it's better not to know the real stakes. Around them, cadets from all species were comparing notes on their experiences, each realizing that they had faced actual combat without recognizing it. There was a new camaraderie forming, a shared understanding that they had been tested in fire and emerged stronger. What happens now? Talor asked. Ray looked up at the sky, where Coalition ships were still patrolling, guarding against any return of the Krell. Now we prepare for whatever comes next. The galaxy just got a lot more complicated. In the days that followed, the full story emerged. The artifact beneath the Academy was a remnant of an ancient civilization that had mastered technologies beyond even the Coalition's understanding. Both the Krell and the Vexar had been seeking it for generations, and its discovery had sparked a new round in an old conflict. The human cadets, initially viewed as curiosities in the Coalition Academy, were now regarded with a mixture of respect and wariness. Their ability to function effectively under extreme stress while believing it was merely a drill had caught the attention of military strategists throughout the Coalition. 2 weeks after the attack, Ray was summoned to Coalition headquarters. He stood before a panel of high-ranking officers from a dozen different species, all regarding him with intense interest. Lieutenant Carson, began the senior officer, an ancient Thracian whose scales had faded to pale gold with age. Your actions during the Krell incursion have been thoroughly reviewed. The committee has reached a decision regarding your future with the Coalition forces. Ray stood at attention, prepared for any outcome. You are being promoted to captain, effective immediately, the Thracian announced. Furthermore, you will be given command of a new special response unit comprised primarily of human cadets, with support from other species. Ray blinked in surprise. Thank you, sir. May I ask the purpose of this unit? The Coalition has traditionally valued careful planning, established protocols, and hierarchical command structures. The officer explained, "Recent events have demonstrated that there may be value in alternative approaches. Your unit will be tasked with responding to situations that require unconventional tactics and rapid adaptation." As Ray left the headquarters with his new orders, he reflected on the strange path that had led him here. What had begun as a routine training rotation had evolved into a genuine combat situation, which had in turn revealed a previously unrecognized human aptitude for crisis response. The Coalition, with its thousands of years of interstellar military tradition, was now looking to humanity, the newcomers, the primitives, for fresh perspectives on warfare. All because a group of human cadets had mistaken an actual alien attack for a particularly challenging training drill and had excelled anyway. His comm unit chimed with a message from Talor, who had also received new orders. "Congratulations, Captain Carson. It seems our performance in the advanced pressure drill has opened new doors." Ray smiled. "Let's hope the next attack comes with clearer labeling." "Would that make a difference to your approach?" she asked. Ray considered the question as he watched Coalition ships maneuvering in the sky above, preparing for whatever threats might come next. Probably not. In the end, the mission remains the same: protect our people, complete the objective, come home alive. "Very human," Talor observed. "Perhaps that's exactly what the Coalition needs right now." As Ray headed toward his new assignment, he carried with him the lesson of that fateful day. Sometimes, not knowing the true nature of the challenge was the very thing that allowed you to overcome it. The human capacity to adapt, to treat the most dire situations as problems to be solved rather than disasters to be feared, might just be their greatest contribution to the galactic community. And if another alien faction decided to bomb a human base in the future, well, they should be prepared for the possibility that the humans might just consider it an advanced training opportunity and exceed all expectations in their response.